What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So here we are, car's up on the hoist. As you can see, that only means one thing: we're working underneath today. So we are going to tackle the Driveshaft Safety Loop. This car's got a one-piece aluminum drive shaft in it, and with the supercharger, and I plan to put some sticky tires on it, it's always a good idea to do a safety loop. So we got the heater on right now, just trying to get this place warmed up a little bit. As you can see, my breath, and we're gonna get this loop in there. So let's get to it. Alright, so we just got our first two bolts out of the drive shaft here. So if we move these out of the way, you can see one bolt there, one bolt here. We just got those two out, and the way you do that is make sure the car's in gear. That'll lock this from spinning, and then you can pop them free. I tried to get these two O2 sensors out, but they're pretty cruddy in there like they usually are. It's easier to do this when it's hot, but whatever. They didn't want to come out. I don't need to break it, and to be honest, I could get up there. It just would have been nice to have a little bit more room, that's all. So now what we're going to do is go take the car out of gear. We'll spin the drive shaft over by hand, throw it back in gear, and that'll do the same thing as long as we can get to the other two bolts. So let me go and jump and do that, and bring it right back. So that was a lot harder than it should have been. I don't really know why yet. Should have been able to spin that freely by hand, but it doesn't want to go unless the car is rolling. Doesn't make any sense. Anyways, let's continue. Okay, so we got the four bolts out. Now we're just gonna tap with a hammer and it'll pop down. There you go. So real quick, let's look at what this consists of. So you have a hoop here on a pipe, and then this cross member. So let's look up. Move you in. Ta-da. Okay. So this cross member goes on the transmission mount bolts here. Bolts up this way. Oh, sorry, this way. And then this hoop goes over top the drive shaft we just removed, and those two bolts go into here. And that's it. The reason you want one of these is if you're making, you know, I don't know, decent amount of power, let's say 500 plus, you're gonna put a sticky tire on the car, and you have an aluminum drive shaft. If this drive shaft breaks at the front yoke, that thing will go down into the ground and kind of pogo the back end of the car over. So you really wanna make sure that, you know, this hoop anyways, is if it breaks, it's gonna trap the drive shaft in there, and it's not gonna allow it to hit the ground. In other words, saving yourself from a rollover or maybe getting hurt. So that's kind of the reason why people do these, and that's the reason why we're doing it. You know, this thing's really not a drag race car per se, so we're probably not going to, you know, launch it real hard trying to do wheelies or that kind of thing, but we are going to drive it pretty hard, so better to have it on there and not need it, right? So let's go ahead and get this thing flipped up over top. Now this is a really tight fit, and I'm hoping I'll have enough play to do this. Okay, so we just pulled this one cross member out back here just a little bit, and that seems to help an awful lot up here. So this thing should slide in now without much of a fight. Come on now, there we go. Okay, now we're gonna try and slide this, there you go, between those two O2s. And that's it for right now. Now we're gonna go ahead and throw the drive shaft back up. We'll put those 4 bolts back in. You should always Loctite those bolts that go from the drive shaft to the transmission flange. And you can probably see on these, there's a whole bunch of Loctite on there already. So what we're going to do is go wire wheel these, clean up all the Loctite that was on here, and I'm going to take a tap and tap the flange there before we put new Loctite and the bolts back in. Let me go ahead and get that done. I'll be right back. All right, so we're back. We're just gonna throw these suckers up in there and yeah, keep going. Okay, we got the drive shaft bolts in place, all 4 of them. The bottom 2 are tight. Just throw a dab of Loctite on these 2 back cross member bolts that we took out, so these don't fall off and rattle against the exhaust and annoy me. Throw those up in place. There you go. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is rotate that drive shaft again 180 degrees. I can tighten the top 2, and then we'll get the that little cross member on the bottom that the loop bolts to. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we just rolled it again because this thing's dumb and doesn't want to freewheel like it's supposed to. So, guess that's just something else we need to look at. You can see this little hoop is sitting right on that bolt right above it. And that's where we need to put this cross member, of course, and the same with the driver's side here. So what I'm going to try to do is undo the clamp on the exhaust and this guillotine clamp, which is the wrong clamp to be on here anyways, and rotate this pipe backward so we can get up in here. I don't know really any other way to do it. So we're gonna have to take that right out, put the bracket in, and then put it back up. So, yeah. Wish me luck that the exhaust clamps come out and don't break, make me do this all night. So just a word of advice, when you have 2 pieces of pipe coming in on an angle like this and like this, don't weld them here because then you can't get it off. It was at this point Jeremy said he hates cars. Well, when someone does weld pipes together that are on an angle so you can't get them off, just get a bigger hammer and it seems to work. All right, we'll be back here, zoom up just a little wee bit, slide this back a little more now. All right, so this bolt right here, the bolts that we're after. Let's grab a socket and pull them out. Okay, those came out. First thing, grab little dabby do a Loctite here. Alrighty, so that's up in there. Got two more bolts. These two bolts are going to lock those two together like this. And then if we look up, whoop, you have a loop around your drive shaft. So if the drive shaft breaks, it's caught in here, can't fly out and try to kill you. Now, I know the exhaust is temporary, but I think we're going to end up fixing it because you could see all the black soot marks on it, so it was leaking. And leaking exhaust always sounds like junk, so maybe we should just weld a couple more seams. We're just going to cut it apart after anywho. I think that might be the thing to do. Alrighty, so let's spin this sucker around. Wow, I guess it helps if you have enough cord for the camera. All right, so let's zoom up. As you can see, the bolt here and here that hold it up. Got two bolts there that hold the loop. We're gonna zoom up here, and what you want to do is just stick your finger around. We're gonna have to adjust this. We're gonna stick our finger around there and make sure we got lots of clearance, because the last thing we need is the drive shaft hitting this loop. So you can see there are two slots here, and you can adjust this left to right. And what you want to do is get the drive shaft right in the center. So, you know, if it has a baby little bit of run out, it's okay. And then if it tries to break, you know, I can get, I don't know, it's probably got an inch or so around here. That's going to capture the front end of that drive shaft. So that's the whole entire plan. That's the whole entire install for this. Basically, the only thing left would be to put the two exhaust pipes back on, but I'm going to go ahead and weld that and then put them back on so they don't leak. And yeah, now we have a drive shaft safety loop. So now, like everything else, I can get this out of the way for you. This bracket here doesn't allow the little post mount to get up in there, so now I have to cut this up and over like that, and the same on this side, up and backward. So, bolt-on parts are bolt-on, huh? Look at that. Now it'll do stuff. Touch it up with paint or it's gonna rust. There you go. So a little bit of file on there, deburr it. I have black paint, not red. Whatever, it's under the car. We're gonna hit it with some black. When we pull the trans, to do the trans and the clutch, you can get that bolt out that we broke. I'll send it back out for powder at that point and do it, but for now, we'll paint it black. There you go. Some good old farm paint, and we're done. So what I did, sure you can kind of see. Oh no, you can't, because look at that clamp's in the way. How dumb is that? I'm sorry. So you can see I left the center part there that comes out up to the shaft. I left that red, and I just painted the cross. Remember, we just cut the whole thing black. So whatever, looks fine. So there you go. That was, I don't know, maybe an hour and a little bit. Now I need to redo the exhaust, so job creation, I guess, you know, 1 step forward, 2 steps back type thing. But yeah, at least the drive shaft isn't going to fall out and try and kill us. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Remember, if you guys want any hats or anything, we got hats. I got lots of t-shirts coming. I'll show you in the next video. We should have, I don't know, 40 or 50 of them coming in. So I have lots of shirts. If you want anything, DM us and do stuff.